anti-corruption demonstrations. Washington also said it was troubled that the opposition leader Alexei Navalny had been detained. He's due in court this morning. Richard Howells reports.
A tweet from the State Department is calling for the Russian government to immediately release all peaceful protesters detained after a day of nationwide demonstrations. Rallying in defiance of the authorities, protesters called for the resignation of the Prime Minister, Dmitry Medvedev, over corruption allegations. The State Department said the detentions were an affront to democratic values, adding that it was troubled by news that Mr. Navalny, a persistent critic of President Putin, was arrested in Moscow on his way to the protest.
South Korean prosecutors have said they are seeking a warrant for the arrest of the country's former president, Park Geun-hye. Ms. Park was questioned for 14 hours last week over the corruption scandal which led to her impeachment. Steve Evans reports from Seoul.
Park Geun-hye is accused of arranging a deal whereby big corporations paid millions of dollars to a friend of hers, and she, as president, then gave government favors to the donors in return. She denies the allegations. The prosecutor argues that evidence like computer hard drives might be destroyed if she isn't arrested. The chances must now be that she will trade the presidential palace she lived in until a few weeks ago for a tiny prison cell.
In Japan, 6 children are feared dead and 4 other people are missing after an avalanche struck a ski resort north of Tokyo this morning. The children were taking part in a large-scale mountain climbing event involving 7 schools. The area has received heavy snow over the last 2 days and avalanche warnings were in effect. From Tokyo, Rupert Wingfield-Hayes reports.
More than 60 high school students and teachers set out early this morning from the small ski resort town of Nasu, about 120 kilometers north of Tokyo. Conditions were reported to be bad, with more than 30 centimeters of fresh snow since Sunday. Recent warm weather had further raised the avalanche risk. At around 9:30 a.m. the emergency services were called. An avalanche had swept down, burying a number of the students. 6 are reported to have been found with no vital signs. 4 other people are still missing, including 1 teacher.
A Kurdish-led rebel alliance has recaptured a strategic airbase in Syria from the Islamic State group. The operation was supported by the United States, which airlifted the Syrian Democratic Forces behind IS lines for the assault on Tabqa airfield. The SDF is continuing its advances on a nearby dam across the Euphrates River, which IS has said is in danger of collapse following airstrikes by the US-led coalition. World News from the BBC. The United Nations has said the deaths of 6 more aid workers in South Sudan has further complicated efforts to deliver vital humanitarian relief to the millions of people in the country facing starvation. The head of the UN's humanitarian office in South Sudan, Ian Ridley, said 3 Kenyans and 3 South Sudanese workers were taken from their vehicle and killed while travelling from the capital Juba to the town of Pibor. Shops selling meat in several parts of the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh are to go on indefinite strike from Monday. The move follows a campaign against illegal slaughterhouses and meat shops, which began after the Hindu nationalist BJP won recent state elections. Meat sellers say officials or vigilantes are harassing legal shopkeepers as well, and hundreds of small butchers' shops and roadside stalls serving chicken and goat have been affected. Thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes in Queensland in northeastern Australia as a cyclone moves in towards the coast. The storm is expected to make landfall on Tuesday near the coastal city of Townsville. Howell Griffith reports from Sydney.
Cyclone Debbie is expected to land early on Tuesday morning, but already more than 3,000 people have left their homes, with another 2,000 being asked to leave. Local schools have been closed and emergency shelters have been set up. People are being warned to ensure they have enough food and medical supplies to see them through. The Bureau of Meteorology warns the core of the storm could be 100 kilometres wide and could hit the coast at high tide, with waves of up to 8 metres expected to cause damage and flooding in low-lying areas.
Leading officials in Angela Merkel's Christian Democrat Union say the result of regional elections in Saarland demonstrates that the German Chancellor can win another term in office. Preliminary results from Sunday's vote give the CDU more than 40% of the vote, up 5 points from the previous election. BBC News.